All right, we're going live. It's not quite noon yet. We got a lot to talk about today. So buckle up your seatbelts and get ready for a ride. I have so much to say today. It's a little crazy. So I don't know if you're joining. Lots of people I know that joined this conversation, joined it on their lunch hour. I'm going to try really hard to keep this between 15 to 20 minutes, but if you have to hop off, cool. Just come back and finish watching it, because I'll tell you what, this is a great conversation today. I love the scene in, oh gosh, now I can't remember that movie, that Tom Cruise movie. You Can't Handle the Truth, where they're, what is that movie? I don't know. Now I can't even remember. But anyway, I love that. So that I put that down as the topic is, can you handle the truth? Because you know what? Most of us cannot handle the truth. And that is the reason that we're suffering. So I want to talk about most of you that join this every single week know that I have been struggling with my weight loss program. I have hit an emotional roadblock that I've been trying to bust through, and I want to talk a little bit about that today. And it's a great conversation, and it's not a conversation that's just about me and about my life and about what I'm dealing with. I really want you to listen to it, not like just a nice little story or a neat story or an interesting story, but about this is how human beings are wired up. I have been a coach for over 20 years, and I'm going to tell you, not to be arrogant, but I think I'm a pretty awesome coach. I have coached hundreds, maybe over 1,000 people to get amazing results. And I think that I know how to coach people to have them break through certain things. Now, I'm 50 years old. I've been struggling with this weight loss plateau for about a year now, almost a year. And I just have gained and lost the same 10 pounds for the last 12 months. And when I am struggling with something like that, I become a sponge for coaching. I'm like, why am I stuck? It's not the program. It's that I'm not quite sticking to it. I'm having more carbs here and more there, and then whatever. So I become a sponge for coaching. I start looking, as a Christian, I start looking for God to speak to me and lead me through other people. And I really think it's important that you be open and you be coachable. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's been going on with me. And that's what this conversation is going to be about. It's going to be about something that I've been struggling with, that I think if you map it onto your life, it's going to cause a huge breakthrough for you, like it has for me, because that's really what I'm interested in. I could give a crap if you think I'm great, or you think that I'm doing a good job, or any of that. What I care about is that I share something with you that actually makes a difference in your life. So it's interesting. So I've been struggling with this weight loss program for about, hi Dave, it's good to see you. I've been, here, let me move that over. Okay. I've been struggling with this this emotional plateau, and I'm going to give you probably some information that is in the realm of TMI. Sorry, not sorry, it's just the way it goes. So I've been struggling with this weight loss, this emotional plateau. I've lost about 85 pounds. I've gone up and down for the last year. Everybody that watches this knows that I took on the word obsessed this year. And for the last 6 weeks, I have a net gain of 17 pounds. Okay. So I'm up, down, but I'm up 17 pounds. So I'm not down a total of 85 pounds now, I'm down whatever 85 minus 17 is. So I've been struggling, and I decided, okay, into the first month of the year, I am hitting this with as hard as I can with everything I've got, and nothing is changing. So I need to do something different. So I decided I was going to go back into therapy. Now, a little bit of background that I need to tell you. I was sexually abused by a relative when I started. It started when I was 5 and ended when I was 11. And I have been in therapy. I've dealt with that. It's I'm okay with it. You don't have to say I'm sorry, all that, because people like to do that. But the point is, so I went through this horrible traumatic experience. That's when I started gaining weight, when I was 5. I went from being just like a normal round chubby 5-year-old, regular 5-year-old, to getting more and more heavy as time went on. So it's so interesting because what I found out just in 3 weeks since I have seen this new therapist is I stopped losing weight when my dad died. Now, I've coached people for 2 decades. I think I know the answers to everything. Just ask my husband or one of my kids. I know how to solve every single problem there is. And it didn't occur to me that I stopped losing weight when my dad died. Because, and when I say my dad, I mean my stepdad. When my mom and my stepdad got married, it was around the time that the abuse by the other adults in my life stopped. And so I've always looked at my dad as my savior, as somebody who was my hero, who kept me safe. It stopped then, and we've talked about that. I've called him that. He knew that. It never occurred to me that when he died, I no longer felt safe, and it reactivated all these weird food issues in my life. And I all of a sudden started to protect myself. Like I have refused to just let go of the weight. And we don't need to go into all the psychological BS about that. Let's just suffice it to say that it was a freaking huge eye-opening thing. Like, oh my gosh, how could I, as somebody who gets paid $100 an hour to coach professionals, to coach millionaires, and I didn't even see this. What the heck? It shows you how crucial it is that when you're struggling, you need to have people around you or hire people around you to help you get through where you're stuck, because you are a fish swimming in the water. You can't see what's holding you back. No matter how hard you try or how smart you are, no matter what, you can't see what's using you in your life. So all that's background. Very interestingly. So when I get stuck, I become the sponge for coaching, and I start looking around, start looking for God to lead me. I start looking for God to speak to me through other people. I start looking for coaching and just like being like, what's going on? So I'm in a very open space right now because I'm in coaching, or I'm in therapy, and I'm dealing with this, and I'm like feeling all the feels, and like I'm just really raw and emotional. And I have been posting in my nutrition group. I'm in a nutrition group with my program. I posted something about like, I'm using the tools that I need to, that are at my fingertips because I've been so stuck and blah, blah, blah. And this woman who's amazing wrote a comment to the post, which cut into me, not in a bad way, cut into me like, oh. And what she said is, the time will come, I know the time will come when I wrote it down, so that's what I'm looking at. When you make a choice to just go full throttle and nothing will stop you. I just know it. And she meant to be very encouraging. But here was my response to that. My response was, I am going full throttle. I'm trying so hard. Oh my gosh, if you knew what I've been through, I was sexually abused for 6 years by someone I trusted. I have lost a brother to suicide and lost a brother to a drug overdose. My dad just died last year. I'm trying so hard. You have no idea how much I'm struggling. That was my reaction. And I was like, and all of a sudden it was like an out-of-body experience. I was like, what the hell? What a whiner. And all of a sudden I realized all of that stuff is true, but they're all excuses. Every single bit of that stuff is real and traumatic, and some of it has been really, really life-stopping and life-changing, but none of it is a valid reason for why I'm not losing weight. It's all a justification. Any justification that I have in my life about why I'm not losing weight is simply an excuse. And it doesn't make it not real. I know that there's people on here that are going through divorces. I know there's people that watch this that have very unhappy marriages and are struggling to define their lives. I know there's people that have huge health issues. Those things are real. But if we use them to justify why we're not producing a result we're committed to in our life, it's a freaking excuse. And what you're doing is you're allowing that excuse to steal your power. It's actually even worse than that. You're not even allowing that excuse to steal your power. What you're doing is you're handing your power over to that circumstance wrapped up with a bow going, hey, I am not going to be able to overcome this because this circumstance is bigger than I am. I'm too small to be bigger than these circumstances. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to get past this. I'm not willing to do what it's going to take to do the hard work to get past this. When you make an excuse, whether it's in your head or to somebody else, about why you're not producing a result that you're committed to producing in your life, you are selling yourself bullshit that you cannot dig out of. And if you're not awake to that in your life, it could take almost a year for you to dig out of it, like me. And I'm a freaking business and life coach, and it's taken me a year to wake up to the fact that yes, all this horrible stuff is going on, and my dad died, and I was abused. But the bottom line is that I can either be that little girl who's 5 years old and scared and eating to numb the pain, or I can be a hot 50-year-old in a bikini who weighs under 200 pounds. And the choice is mine. And anything between the reality and the attempting of that, so the gap between where I am now and my goal, anything that I use to justify why I'm not doing it is an excuse. So again, this is about all of us. This isn't just about me. It's not just about weight loss. It's not just about people who've been abused or had hard lives or, any of that. It's looking at the power in this conversation is to look at where are you using excuses to justify your lack of results in your life? Where are you using excuses to stay small? Now, again, I'm not saying these excuses aren't real. You may not have a kidney. You may have to go through dialysis. You may be getting a divorce. You may be going bankrupt. You may have just lost a child or a parent or someone very close to you. And there is definitely time that you need to take care of yourself and grieve and do all that. But if you are drowning in that excuse and you're using that excuse to justify why you're not producing a result, then what you're doing is pouring your own set of cement shoes in your life. You're carving out a life that is less than what you know it could be or who you know you could be. And I'll tell you, the three biggest excuses that people have in life are, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and I don't know how. Those are the three biggest excuses that I hear when I'm coaching people. And I think part of it is we have a society where we think that if we have a commitment and then we make an excuse that's good enough, that somehow justifies the results not being made. Listen, I could have a conversation with you right now and say, here's the reason why I'm up 17 pounds in the last, whatever. Here's why I'm not losing weight. It's because I was sexually abused as a child, and it was a horrible struggle. And I lost my dad in March, and now I don't feel safe. And I notice that I'm just out of whack with my food intake. Yeah, that's a great reason. That's a great reason. But guess what? I'm bigger than that fucking reason. And I'm not going to let that 5-year-old control me. And the thing about this is you have the same exact thing. How can the first step to this, though, is you have to get awake. You have to be awake to what excuses are using you. I can't tell you how many friends, dear, wonderful, lovely friends I have, that I look at their Facebook feeds in the morning sometimes, and all they do is complain. All they do is say, oh, this isn't fair, or that's not fair. That's a great way to look at who are you being in the world. What is your Facebook wall look like? What does your feed look like? What are the conversations that you're having? Listen, every conversation that you have that is a complaint is feeding something in yourself. You're feeding yourself. And I'm not talking just about food. I talk a lot about nutrition because I am always focused on my nutrition. But besides the thing about feeding yourself food and your nutrition and all of that, there's also conversations you feed yourself and the conversations you feed the world around you. Do you have friends? I am so lucky that I have a friend that was like, and she didn't even realize that she was speaking truth into my life at that moment, because when she said the time will come when you choose, it's like, well, no, I'm choosing it now, but it's just not working. No, you know what I'm doing? I'm choosing my excuse. I'm choosing my suffering. I'm choosing that this is so big that I can't get past it, that it's bigger than me. That's what I'm choosing. And she told the truth to me. And I have amazing friends around me that speak truth into my life all the time. And I love that. And I speak truth into my friends' life all the time. And most of the time, I think they appreciate that. Not always, but that's okay. But the thing that you have to realize is that if you're using excuses, if there's something in your life, if you're saying, well, I'm not happy because this is what's happening in my life right now, then maybe what you need to do is literally schedule a pity party. Like maybe you need to spend the weekend. Maybe you just broke up with somebody and you need to spend the weekend just being sad and taking care of yourself and watching movies and like eating ice cream or doing whatever you do to feel bad for yourself and all that. But then Sunday morning or Monday morning at 9 a.m., that pity party's over and you move on and you have the life that you're committed to having. So I'm not saying like you always have to be happy and you can never be sad and that when bad things happen, there isn't suffering, because there is. But if you fall asleep at the wheel of your life and you let that shit use you for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time until it's the reality and you're living a Groundhog's Day where the same day, every day you get up and do the same BS, and then the next day you get up and do the same BS. If that's what your life is like, if what you're doing is living the same day over and over and it's not the day you want and your life is not what you want it, then you need to look at what are the things that are keeping you stuck. And I promise you, they are the excuses that you are using in your life. Whether it's health or money or resources or you just don't know how, any of that, we are 100% people. We are 100% responsible for the lives we have. And I'm telling you, it is comfortable for me to use my past abuse as an excuse for being heavy. It's easy. It's easy. It's not hard. Because what I get out of it is I get to be not responsible for what I put in my mouth, because it's such a good excuse, right? Because it's such a traumatic excuse. But I'm telling you, I have stopped pouring my own cement shoes in my life about this. And it's not to say that it's handled and it's not going to be a struggle, but I am no longer willing to have the excuse of what happened for those 6 years to define who I am every single moment. And I promise you, people, you are doing the same exact thing. And it may not be, again, about weight. It may not be about abuse, but it's about something. I'm not smart enough to do this. I just don't know how. All of that stuff that you're telling yourself is feeding your mind more of the reasons why you're not happy. So I'm going to challenge you this week. What's the time? Oh, I did good. Okay. So I'm going to challenge you this week. It's 12:16. I'm going to challenge you this week to look at the excuses that you have in your life. What are the excuses that you maybe have been asleep to? And if you don't know, ask somebody. Ask your daughter or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your best friend and say, you know, what are the things that are going on in my life that I keep complaining about, but I'm not doing anything about? I promise you, that is the land of excuses for you. And the other thing that I want to tell you about this is, you know, part of, I think, what happened for me as a child is the abuse stopped and when my dad showed up. And so this like hero rode in and like saved me. I think that we, not just women, men too, I think we live a life of waiting for people to save us. Listen, nobody's freaking coming for you. This is your one life. No one is coming for you. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you need to start changing your life and making it how you want it now. If you don't have money for something you need, what you need to do is stop saying, well, I don't have money for that, and say, I'm really committed to this. How do we make it happen? If you don't know how, maybe you want to go back to school. If you don't know how to do that, you say, I want to go back to school, but I don't know how to make that happen. The minute that I started saying, I want to lose another 85 pounds, how am I going to make this happen? And I got freaking unreasonable with myself and I got obsessed about it this year, I have started to break through that. So that's the key. Nobody's coming for you. If you want something in your life, you need to start saying, I want this, and how am I going to make it happen? And if you notice that you don't have something in your life and you're complaining about it, get rid of those excuses. No more cement shoes, okay? And last tip, find people in your life that will speak truth into you. because you cannot do this alone. Listen, if I have been a coach for 20 years and I couldn't figure this out for myself, no one can. Everybody needs a coach. And whether it's a friend or a mentor or somebody at work or your spouse, or you hire a coach, or you hire a trainer, or you hire a weight loss professional, whatever it is that you're up to, you get a therapist. You cannot do anything by yourself that is going to take this kind of transformation. You need people from the outside pulling you up, linking arms and supporting you. And I am just so freaking grateful that I have that in my life. But remember, nothing changes in your life if nothing changes. So the key is to get unreasonable, no more excuses, and to start demanding what you want in your life and going, I want this. How am I going to make it happen? That's the key. So look at those excuses this week and make the week freaking amazing. No more excuses.